Hey, Kyle's Wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's WWE's NXT 2.0 from August 30th, 2022, live from the CWC in Orlando, Florida. So we're only 5 days away from everything potentially changing in NXT forever, as NXT is going to end with a bang at NXT Worlds Collide this Sunday. And rumors are raging that Worlds Collide could be the perfect time to bring the black and gold NXT back. That means this could possibly potentially be the last episode of NXT 2.0 ever, which wouldn't just change things instantly. It would change a color scheme and it would send back some people the message that, hey, things are changing, but nonetheless, could be a cool deal. The whole thing with the NXT 2.0, yeah, it's been silly. It might lead to black and gold going back to better wrestling, less characters. However, some people might like this. Others, like me, might say that, well, it's kind of easy to find great wrestling in 2022 if you want to find it, especially with the main roster of getting better and more wrestling now. It looks like the main roster is basically black and gold already with Triple H taking over. And the characters of NXT 2.0 have really stood out among all the other companies that have the good wrestling, but not the great characters. So if they can find a way to merge black and gold and 2.0, we could be looking at one of the better shows on television. Don't forget, though, at the end of the day, this still is a developmental brand that will feature rookies. So the matches won't always be great, but if it turns out to be something a little bit better with the characters, that would be a great combination. We did see just this last week on NXT Level Up, they had their best match ever on that show, and it was Ikemanjiro taking on Nathan Frazier. So there are some great wrestlers on the NXT roster who haven't been featured a lot lately, so they could pull off a good mixture of characters in wrestling. But hopefully, no matter what happens, we don't lose this little world that they've created within NXT 2.0. We've got the bar that Fallon Henley owns, and Briggs and Jensen hang out there. We've seen people like Pretty Deadly show up there looking for fights and stuff. There's the spa that we've seen different segments with Toxic Attraction and Tiffany Stratton. Then we've got the Chase U University, of course, a university that could potentially bring people, once people go up to the main roster, you could just keep bringing people into the university, and Andre Chase could just stay in NXT 2.0 for years. So this little world that they've built up where all the wrestlers can interact with each other in real life settings outside of the CWC and the Performance Center really has made 2.0 feel like a living, breathing world. So I hope we don't lose that aspect of things. Of course, I would like a little bit like at least feature like one really good, like just banger match. Doesn't have to have a whole bunch of story behind it, but it definitely breaks things up among like just instead of 2 straight hours of like all characters and short intermediate style matches. So I think we could be looking at something good. But let's get ready for tonight. Tonight we'll be getting previews and all geared up for the NXT and NXT UK title unification matches that are going to be scheduled for this weekend at Worlds Collide. So Braun Breaker will take on Tyler Bate to unify the men's titles. Meanwhile, the women's titles will be unified in a triple threat match because Blair Davenport had already won a number one contendership match before NXT UK folded. So last week we got the surprise appearance of the NXT UK champion, the legendary Meiko Satomura, and it might be the biggest test of Mandy Rose's 300-day long reign in that triple threat match Sunday at Worlds Collide. So we'll see what kind of plan Mandy can think up with only about 10 days notice on this one. And I'm hoping we see maybe the match on NXT UK promised us but never delivered, and I would freak out if that happened tonight, which it didn't, sadly, but maybe it still could at some point, and that being Meiko Satomura against Saray. So they even had a press conference and everything on NXT UK and then said it's next week and then never delivered, and now NXT UK is gone. So hopefully that match happens at some point. But another title unification match that hasn't been announced yet, but surely will by the end of this episode, and it was. And it seems to be heading towards a 4-team unification match for the NXT and NXT UK tag team titles. The NXT UK champions are Briggs and Jensen, and then the NXT champions are the Creed brothers. Them, along with Gallus and Pretty Deadly, have all kind of been fighting amongst each other, and these 4 teams will split off tonight in 2 different trios matches or 6-person tag matches the Gallus, who attacked Diamond Mine 2 weeks ago, will take on the Creed brothers and Damon Kemp. And Kemp actually spent some time in NXT UK alongside Wolfgang, who's part of Gallus. So they know each other well. Now they'll be taking on each other tonight in a trios match, 6-man tag. Then the other two teams that are involved in this potential unification match at Worlds Collide is going to be in a mixed trios match with Briggs Jensen teaming up with their manager / friend Fallon Henley as they take on Pretty Deadly and Lash Legend, who Lash Legend and Fallon Henley have been feuding for over a month, and so has Pretty Deadly. So now they all kind of collide on that one. So we'll see how NXT ends up getting this match announced between all four teams that will happen at Worlds Collide. So I'm also expecting more matches to be announced tonight. We did see the NXT debut of Charlie Dempsey from NXT UK last week. He was training with Chase U and calling them soft. So maybe we'll see him in a match at Worlds Collide. And I would love to see Carmelo Hayes get a match as well. Maybe he could take on someone like Noam Dar, who currently holds the Heritage Cup, which is somewhat the equivalent of the North American title, but not similar enough to be a unification because it's a whole trophy. It's not even a belt, but that would be another great match. We'll see what happens. We do have 2 other matches announced for tonight before the show was started, and that's the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, will have their first match since winning the titles a few weeks ago, and it will be a non-title match against Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley. This feud goes back over a month where they were arguing backstage and stuff, but the feud had to be put on hold because Tatum Paxley had her nose absolutely shattered and broken and spread across her face a few weeks ago at a house show with a nasty knee strike from Sloane Jacobs, unfortunately. So she's back. Apparently she'll be in the ring tonight, and a win for the Diamond Mine duo will probably get them a title match if they can get a win tonight. The only other match announced before the show was an Apollo Crews against Grayson Waller match. They had a big argument last week in Grayson Waller's first ever talk show. It got very personal. Grayson Waller even brought up the fact that we all know that Apollo, it's just ridiculous. Apollo Crews can tell the future because we all saw your visions, which in and of itself brings up the problem, like how did we have cameras inside of Apollo Crews's head? But anyway, don't think too hard about it. It did get a little personal. Basically, Grayson Waller doesn't like the fact that Apollo Crews came from the main roster basically to get demoted and thus taking away spots from someone like a Grayson Waller who might be in a bigger prominent role that Apollo Crews would have taken that spot after his demotion. Like he demoted down to taking a spot where Grayson wants to get up into that spot. And if that does make sense if you think about it. So Grayson has a valid point, but it's not Apollo Crews' fault per se. And we'll see what happens with that one after it got a little personal. And then, all right, so let's see how they set up this Sunday's World Collide event. And this week's episode of NXT 2.0 starts with Grayson Waller, just like we were just talking about. So it's going to be that match first. Grayson Waller comes out, huge boost from the crowd. Grayson Waller has been public enemy number 1 of NXT ever since Grayson attacked Johnny Gargano during Gargano's farewell speech to NXT. So Grayson wants to say something on the microphone here, but Apollo Crews interrupts him with his music anyway. Apollo doesn't say anything. He just hits his music. I guess they have a button back there where they can start the music when they want. So anyway, big cheers for Apollo Crews, who, remember, he can see into the future. So maybe Apollo saw something about this match. However, we don't know how often Apollo gets these visions and so he might not have got one about this particular occasion. But anyway, they tie up. Apollo has the power advantage in this one, and Apollo does some flips and counters a charging Waller in with an arm drag, showing that he's got good technical skills and agility to go with that power advantage. Good stuff there. Apollo then hits a big clothesline, and Grayson Waller's in trouble already. Apollo hits a big punch and a back body drop that sends Grayson Waller up to the lights. That was awesome. The crowd's just going wild now. They're chanting Apollo's name, and Grayson's trying to fight back, but he eats a drop kick to the face from Apollo, who's now dancing around, and Apollo's feeding off the energy of the crowd. Apollo then hits a back elbows, talking trash to Grayson now. Remember, it got personal last week. Apollo now holds Grayson upside down for a long time during a delayed vertical suplex. suplex. Grayson's in huge trouble. He hasn't gotten off the match anything going so far. So Apollo hits a slingshot senton, and Waller able to kick out, but he's looking bad. Grayson's able to leap over Apollo now, and Apollo immediately goes to his eyes. I didn't see anything happen, but the referee goes over to check on Apollo, who's holding his eye and screaming in pain. And a doctor comes and check, and I didn't see anything happen. So I think we might have went to a commercial break. Maybe we didn't, but no, not yet, because Apollo comes back in the ring now. He just had something happen with his eye. Like I said, I didn't see anything happen, but Apollo gets kicked hard right away, and Grayson can finally go on the attack now. Apollo gets whipped hard into the corner, then Grayson hits a running corner splash. Apollo ducks under a kick, but Grayson blocks a sunset flipped attempt. Then Grayson applies a cravat around the neck and hits knee strikes to the face. It goes up to the middle rope, and Grayson hits an elbow drop. Apollo kicks out, but he's never been the same ever since injuring his eye earlier. Grayson now hits some body punches, and this whole time Grayson's been able to recover from that terrible start he had. So everything changed with that. Grayson now hits a stiff running back elbow, knocking Apollo right down hard. Grayson then hits hammer and anvil elbow strikes, and it's looking bad for Apollo. Grayson applies a chin lock as we come back from the break. So we did go to a picture-in-picture break earlier, right when Apollo got hurt on the eye. When we come back, we now see a replay of that eye injury, which was the major moment of this match. Apollo now fires up, and he hits some strikes. Apollo tries the slingshot senton again, but Grayson was waiting for it, and he counters it into a Katahaji main of all things. Apollo's able to get out of this submission hold, and he hits an enziguri kick. Then Apollo blocks or evades the next two attacks in a row, and then he hits another enziguri kick. Apollo quickens the pace now, hitting a big lariat. He nips up and then fires up even more, hitting a corner splash. And then a beautiful middle rope blockbuster from Apollo almost wins the match, and Grayson's in big trouble. Apollo lifts him up for a gorilla press, but Grayson gets out of this and hot shots Apollo across the ropes. Grayson ends up outside of the ring after that, so Grayson hits his finisher, which is a rolling into the ring stunner, and this gets the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Grayson Waller. Big time upset here. You could say this is clean, because there was, even if the eye, I mean, clearly the eye got poked, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't like an eye rake or a poke to the eye. It was just a regular incidental eye poke. So that was a little bit weird way, kind of a weird structure to this match, where Apollo just absolutely dominated in the beginning and looked unstoppable, like he was about to win the match. Then an accidental, like the super heel Grayson Waller didn't even do it on purpose. And I would have just preferred to have Grayson Waller do it on purpose, and maybe the story was that he did, and he just made it look like it was accidental. But I mean, you could have easily just got an eye poke in there, and the referee wouldn't have called the DQ. So it was a little weird to do it that way. The beginning of the match is just all Apollo, then it's all Grayson after that, with nobody really fighting back. It was never really a back and forth match. A little bit towards the end, and I like the Katahaji main from Grayson Waller out of nowhere. He just seems to have a moveset kind of like Eugene used to have, where it's a bunch of the legends moves, like a legendary moveset, this being like the Taz mission or whatever. So I have said this before, Grayson Waller has that super heel, and I think he would be a cool, kind of almost like a legend killer gimmick that Randy Orton used to have, except instead of like the legend killer, he'd be like the legend stealer. You would have to find a better nickname than that. But if Grayson Waller would defeat legends, or like people who are still on, like remember Grayson Waller fought AJ Styles before. He didn't win that match, but let's say Grayson Waller beat AJ Styles. Well, now he adds the Styles Clash to his arsenal. So, and then maybe he beats Rey Mysterio. Now he has the 619, and he just uses these further in his career after collecting the pelts and the collecting trophies from legends that he beats. I don't know if this has ever been done in wrestling. It sounds like it should have been, but I would like a long-term story with someone, and maybe Grayson Waller, who's already public enemy number one, could be a good candidate for that kind of story. I think that would be a winning formula. So anyway, Apollo Crews has said that his main mission is to win the NXT title. So you'd have to imagine another setback here with Grayson Waller winning against Apollo, who probably has just slid down nowhere near a title shot at this point. So he's going to have to get everything together. So pretty good stuff overall. Good way to open up NXT 2.0. So now we get a highlight video of Meiko Satomura in her entire career. We were even able to show some highlights from when she was on WCW Nitro back in the 90s. So Meiko Satomura says in Japanese, so we get subtitles here, that I've been fighting over 27 years. I've won championships in multiple countries, but the most prestigious title I've won is the NXT UK Championship. At Worlds Collide, I will unify the titles. And then in English, Meiko Satomura says, Mandy Rose, you will not get past the final boss, which has been Meiko's nickname in NXT UK, the final boss of the NXT UK women's division. And I love that. That's a great nickname. Mandy Rose really is up against the final boss after her 300-day plus reign as women's champion, seemingly getting through every obstacle. Now she's got not only one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, Meiko Satomura, but another one of the best in the world, Blair Davenport, in the same match. Mandy could lose this match and the chance to win both titles and unify them without even getting pinned or submitted. So Mandy Rose is up against it. In the Diamond Mine gym now we go, and Julius Creed is there with his brother Brutus and Damon Kemp, and they say, Julius says, Gallus thinks they're hooligans, but that's fine. We got this fight. Now Roderick Strong comes in, and he says, I know you still don't believe me, but I've got the security footage. And then Julius interrupts him by saying, we don't trust you, and Roderick Strong leaves angry. Damon Kemp even says out loud now that he doesn't trust Roderick Strong either. Now Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley walk up. Tatum has a big mask on her face to protect her broken nose, which is unfortunate. Ivy Nile is angry, and she says to the Creeds and Kemp, while you guys have been busy arguing, we've been training hard to get the tag team titles. Then Tatum Paxley says, Ivy even broke my nose in training. We've been training so hard. So then they leave because that match is next. So even though Sloan Jacobs broke Tatum Paxley's nose on accident at a house show, they're saying that Ivy Nile accidentally did it while training and while basically initiating Tatum Paxley into the Diamond Mine. So I love that story. That's a great way to put this story. Meanwhile, it seems like the Creeds and Kemp are completely done with Roderick Strong. And I think Roddy said something about you'll pay for this or I'll show you, something along those lines. So I'm sure we'll see Roderick Strong later in the trios match, 6-man tag. So now the new NXT women's tag team champions come out, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Toxic Attraction is also out here watching in the Toxic Lounge. So we go to a commercial break, and that match will be next. But when we come back from the break, Braun Breaker's in the locker room, and out of nowhere, Finn Balor shows up. So Finn Balor says that I held that NXT title longer than anyone else, and now it's your responsibility to hold up its lineage. I like you, so I'll give you some advice. I've beaten guys twice as big as me. So Sunday, don't underestimate the moment and don't underestimate your opponent. Good luck. Then Finn Balor leaves. So that was super cool. I love that. Finn Balor basically saying he's been in Tyler Bates' situation and beaten big guys like Braun Breaker before. So don't underestimate him whatsoever, and that this is a big moment. So this is a common theme, a thread that runs all the way throughout the 2 hours of NXT tonight. And it's an amazing thread that really made this episode amazing. So basically every single division in NXT and NXT UK gets some kind of former legend of that division throughout the night. So this is the first of many, and it makes NXT awesome. It really hypes me up for Worlds Collide, and I'm so excited for that. So that's really awesome that they did that, and I'm can't wait for Worlds Collide now. So now we go back to the ring, and Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley have made their entrance. Again, this is going to be a non-title match in the women's division. The new tag team champions, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, taking on Diamond Mines, Ivy Nile, and Tatum Paxley, who's having her first match back after breaking her nose. She's got a big mask on. So Ivy Nile is going to take control at the beginning of this match against Kaden Carter. So they start the match. Ivy takes control, but Kaden reverses a pin and hits a big kick, and she's able to tag in Katana Chance. And then Kaden hits a drop kick before leaving, and then Katana Ivy's able to use her power advantage to block a Casadora from Katana, who's much, much smaller. One of the smallest women on the roster is Katana Chance, the formerly known as Casey Canizaro, who was from American Ninja Warrior. She's got some great agility and flips and all kinds of stuff, but she's super small. Ivy slams her down, and she's able to tag in Tatum Paxley now. Diamond Mine hit a double team, and then Tatum hits a slam and a standing twisting senton. That looked really good. Caden's able to get a roll up here, but Tatum hits a drop kick, and then Caden uses her agility to counter the next move and hit a drop kick. That was really nice. So at a point, Katana must have tagged out. Sorry, I missed that one. So, like I said, Caden used her agility to counter, hit a drop kick. Super nice, but the crowd's a little silent for this one. They start to get a little bit louder now as Katana Chance tags in, and they hit a double team move, ending with a slingshot senton. Now we see that Gigi Dolan and JC Jane have left the Toxic Lounge, so I'm sure we'll see them soon. Katana and Tatum now take each other down at the same time, and Katana's able to grab the leg, but Tatum hits an Insaguri. But before she can tag out, Gigi Dolan pulls Ivy Nile off the apron, and somehow the referee did not see this. So Ivy Nile's now fighting with Toxic Attraction, Gigi and JC, while Caden and Katana hit their finisher. It's a double team that ends with a 450 splash off the top rope. And of course, this gets the 1, 2, 3. The winners of this match by pinfall, Caden Carter and Katana Chance. So that was pretty wild. It looks like Gigi and JC got out of here. Should have been a disqualification. I don't know how the referee didn't see it, but it happens, I guess. So it looks like Toxic Attraction might be looking for their titles back, and maybe they'll have to get through Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley first. So that could be a match we set up in the future. But anyway, Katana Chance gets on the microphone here, and she says, ladies, talking to Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley, she says, ladies, don't worry, we'll do this again soon. So maybe she saw the cheating. I don't know if she did or not, or if she's just being nice. But anyway, Katana Chance continues by saying, we are fighting champions, but we've beaten all the teams, which I don't really know if that's true. I guess they won a 4-way to win the titles, and there's not really any more teams. So I guess it's true. But anyway, she continues. So Sunday, we're just going to have a party in the parking lot. And then, holy crap, I didn't even think about this. I literally couldn't believe that this gave me goosebumps, but it did, because NXT UK veterans Doudrop and Nikki ASH now come out. And like I said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Doudrop and Nikki ASH coming out gave me goosebumps, because I hadn't even thought about this as a possibility. There are no NXT UK women's tag titles to unify. So it looks like, and yes, it's true, it will be Doudrop and Nikki ASH at Worlds Collide for the tag titles, and just for them to be there for this big end of NXT UK celebration pay-per-view is a big deal to me, and for them, I bet. So great stuff. Doudrop gets on the microphone and says, now, I love a good party, but I'm more interested in dancing in the ring. So Nikki ASH says, why don't we dance for the women's tag team titles? Caden and Katana shake hands, and that match will happen at Worlds Collide this Sunday. So that's awesome stuff. Really liking how they're setting up this pay-per-view with the lineage of NXT UK. Sure, it hasn't been around forever, but it really produced some great stuff, some really good people, and everybody getting to kind of have this end of NXT UK celebration, trying to make it not a sad occurrence. Yes, there was so many people that got laid off. There was a lot of people released from NXT UK. So yes, it's somewhat of a celebration, somewhat of a funeral. And they're trying to say that NXT Europe is going to be like NXT UK and basically going to replace it. We don't know how many of these percentage of people got released that are going to come back or what, or if it's going to be anything like NXT UK. I'm sure it'll be pretty good, and it'll be somewhat similar. So the legacy will kind of live on there, but it's good to have a celebration. And like, even some funerals, people want you to have a celebration of their life and not be like mopey about it. You know what I mean? So it is pretty good, and I'm really now looking forward to Worlds Collide a lot. So we go from that to now we see Kiana James. She's in her office job, and she's yelling at someone on the phone, working at the same time. Kiana hangs up and says, unlike my opponent tonight, Zoe Stark, I actually get things done. Zoe failed to win the NXT title, and then she missed her opportunity for the tag team tournament. So in my line of work, we call this type of person a try-hard. Zoe overpromises and underdelivers. And after I'm done with her tonight, it'll be a long time until she gets another opportunity. Then the video ends. So pretty good promo here, much better than that PowerPoint promo about Nikita Lyons that she had before. So Kiana James is pretty good at talking, decent in the ring. Hopefully she gets a lot of time to develop in NXT, and then she could turn into be a pretty good solid wrestler for the main roster, but she is going to take a little bit more time, but there's something to work with there for sure. So now in the back, we see the Schism. It's Joe Gacy with the Dyad, which is Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed. That's formerly known as the Grizzled Young Veterans. So Joe Gacy says, we're about to have a celebration, and that allows people to, or a celebration that allows people to grow. Cameron Grimes, you may be rich in wealth, but time is money, and it's time for you to decide your future. The offer is yours to accept, and then we go to a commercial. So, wow, in my mind, I definitely think that Cameron Grimes is close to the main roster getting a call up. So if he gets called up soon, no way he's joining the Schism here. We'll check in on that in a little bit. So then when we come back from the break now, we see the arrival of the North American champion Carmelo Hayes alongside Trick Williams. So they arrive to the building. Somebody wants to interview them, but Carmelo Hayes says, if we ain't talking about who my opponent at Worlds Collide is, then don't talk to me. And then they walk in the building. So wow, I can't wait to see who takes the A champion takes on, and it's actually the main event segment. So the more and more time that went off during this episode where we didn't find out, the more excited I was getting. So in the ring now is the Schism. So it's Joe Gacy, Rip Fowler, and Jagger Reed. Joe Gacy, the leader, says that great things happen when worlds collide, but something, I don't know what I wrote down, blooms when worlds get. So he's just saying a bunch of stupid things. But thankfully, the NXT universe can be here for this ceremony. 7 days ago, the Dyad proved that their faith is undeniable. You scored a victory for everyone that lives in harmony. For that, you will be rewarded. So these smiley face pins represent the great strides that you made and as you climb higher up the Schism tree. So Jagger Reed says, thank you, Joe. Together we are whole. Rip Fowler says, your teachings have shown us the strength of being together. Joe Gacy then says, I hope others will find their home in the Schism's tree, under the shadow of the Schism tree. Cameron Grimes, you've been wandering around aimlessly. Come follow in their footsteps. So that was awkward and dumb. So Cameron Grimes comes out. He looks sad, and the Dyad are wearing their stupid little smiley face buttons. Just ridiculous. Can't believe the Grizzled Young Veterans are now just these weirdos that are wearing smiley face buttons. So anyway, Joe Gacy says, so good to see you, Cameron. And Cameron says, I didn't come out here to be part of your celebration, but I do need to talk to you. You've been following me around everywhere, asking me to join. So the answer I have for you is no, I don't need you. I don't need anyone to go to the moon. So Joe Gacy says, your loneliness is killing you. You say these words, but inside it's nothing but misery. I understand it's tough to lose. You are one of the toughest men here, but you wear a mask to hide your insecurities. You lost the North American title and lost the Braun Breaker. Just say that we are right and admit that you're lonely, and we'll leave you alone. Cameron then says, all right, you're right. I lost, but I can rise up. I don't need anybody. So before things get worse, I'm out of here. Joe Gacy says, another night without a championship, without a family, without a father. And this makes Cameron Grimes mad. He attacks the Dyad, but then Joe Gacy hugs Cameron instead of attacking him when he had the chance here. So Cameron shoves him away angrily and leaves, and the segment ends. So that was super weird. I get what they're going for. This whole Joe Gacy thing is cringe, though. One of those things where if your wife or your girlfriend or your friends walk in the room seeing you watch shit like that, it's just like, oh my God. Like, how do you even explain what the heck? You're like, oh, you know what they say? They're like, yo, you're watching this. You like this kind of crap. So not really my kind of stuff. Not my cup of tea. I'd rather have been watching some kind of technical match there instead. But it is what it is. It looks like Cameron Grimes is going to say no. He might have a quick little mini feud, and hopefully he gets up to the main roster soon. So, yeah, that didn't hit for me at all. So next we see a little video. It's a little sentimental video. It's got sentimental music, and it is Roxanne Perez, who we've not seen very much ever since she originally got attacked the week after losing the women's tag team titles, and then she got attacked by her friend Cora Jade. She came back, fought Cora Jade, and it didn't go so well. She refused to hit Cora with the kendo stick, costing her the match. The same story we've seen with Bayley in the past. So Roxanne Perez in this video says, "It's hard to look back at the happiest moments of my life and realize the person I shared them with didn't is someone that I don't recognize anymore. Sorry about that." And then Cora hit me. When Cora hit me, it broke my heart in the two. At Heatwave, I wanted to hurt Cora like she hurt me, but when that moment came, I couldn't do it. In that moment, the memories we made and shared ran through my head, and I paid for it. Lesson learned. Next time, there's no hesitation. Our friendship is over, but her and I, we're not over with. And then we see that Roxanne Perez was about to send Cora Jade a text that read, "Watch your back. Don't forget, nobody knows you like I do." But Roxanne hits delete, and then she blocks Cora Jade's number from her phone. So then we go to a commercial break, and I'm excited to see Roxanne Perez back wrestling. That's what she does best. Roxanne Perez, one of the best young, probably the best like 20-year-old women's wrestler in the world. There's not a lot. She's better than like a lot of people way older than her. So having all these sentimental segments and stuff like that, I guess at the end of the day, this is exactly what NXT is for. It's for the development of the younger people. So if Roxanne needed to work on her promos and like stuff like that, then I guess this is perfect. So it's really nothing to complain about. But hopefully we get more Roxanne Perez actual matches coming up soon, because that's where she's best. A little too sad. It's just they were friends on TV for like what, a month, and now it's like, oh, all these moments in my life. So that was a little tough. But anyway, I love Roxanne Perez. I'm not even usually a guy that likes the underdog babyface types, but there's just such a charm about her that it's really hard to ever root against Roxanne. So should be some good stuff. Then when we come back from the commercial break, Tyler Bate is in the back, and Fit Finley walks up to him. Finley doesn't really say anything. He just hands an iPad, and on the iPad for Tyler Bate is Pete Dunne, aka Butch from SmackDown. So Pete Dunne says, "You remember when I took that title from you? You know that title means so much to everyone. Win this match for all of NXT UK and British Strong Style." So good to see Pete Dunne, aka Butch, here. Love that. Nothing else was said, and it was really good. This is the running theme throughout the night that I was telling you about, with all the past legends of each respective NXT or NXT UK division, and I love it. Great stuff. In the ring already, so there are no entrances here. It's going to be the 6-person mixed tag match. Pretty Deadly and Lash Legend on one side, Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Fallon Henley on the other. So, like I said, a mixed tag match here. The women will start the match, and it's Lash Legend absolutely destroying Fallon Henley for about 30 minutes at the beginning of this match. But Fallon Henley fires up, and she knocks Lash out of the ring, then dives off the apron with a crossbody. Excuse me. Lash then gets in the ring and tags out. So Kit Wilson gets slapped by Fallon Henley before Josh Briggs comes in, hitting a Manhattan drop. Excuse me. And then after that, a shoulder breaker. Kit's able to counter the next attack, and Elton Prince tags in. He gets hit with a Manhattan drop as well, and Josh then knocks both of Pretty Deadly out of the ring. Josh then helps Fallon kick Lash out of the ring and picks up Fallon Henley. Josh Briggs throws her out of the ring onto all 3 opponents. That looked absolutely awesome. Fallon's about 3 times smaller than Josh Briggs. So Fallon, Briggs, and Jensen are all fired up as we go to an ad break. No picture-in-picture ad break for this one. So it's going to seem shorter than it actually was, because we didn't get to see what happened during the break. But when we come back now, Josh and Elton are in the ring. Elton Prince hits some strikes, but Josh Briggs able to block an Irish whip, because he's one of the biggest man in this match by far. Elton then ducks under 2 attacks, but he gets caught with a big side slam. Kit Wilson now tags in, and Pretty Deadly hits a double team on Briggs. Kit hits some strikes, and Briggs fights his way out of the corner, but Kit Wilson's able to take him back down. And it looks like Josh Briggs must have got hurt a lot during the commercial break, because he's really hurting here, and that double team seemed to have damaged him a lot, which is weird to see, but we must have missed something during the commercial break where they were beating him up the whole time. Elton Prince now tags back in. He hits more strikes, and they have completely isolated Briggs. Lash and Kit are even hitting cheap shots on Briggs as Elton distracts the referee. Kit Wilson tags in. He hits some uppercuts. Briggs now fires up, but Kit takes him back down, hitting more strikes. Kit's now paint brushing the head of Briggs and takes him right back down, applying a sleeper hold. Briggs is in big trouble here, and Jensen probably should have just ran in at this point, but he doesn't. Briggs is able to get up to his feet and throw Kit out of the ring. However, Elton was able to tag in before that happened, so Elton comes in applying a chin lock. Briggs is able to get to his feet again, and with Elton on his back, he tags out the Brooks Jensen. So Jensen hits an atomic drop and a bulldog, but Kit Wilson is able to distract Jensen, allowing Elton to get control. Elton accidentally pulls the cowboy boot off of Jensen, who was trying to tag out, but Jensen doesn't tag out. Instead, now Gallus are walking down to the ring, the three of them, Wolfgang, Joe, and Mark Coffey, and this makes Briggs mad. He attacks Gallus. Meanwhile, Fallon is attacking Lash Legend over in the corner, and while all this is happening, Jensen gets rolled up for the 1-2-3. The winners of this match by pinfall, Pretty Deadly and Lash Legend. So that match wasn't very good. It wasn't the worst ever. I just never really got into it. It just never had any good flow. I guess maybe we don't know. It was kind of weird that we didn't know why Briggs was in such a dire situation to begin with. So the fact that they didn't show us that kind of left off a key moment of the match. So maybe that's what took me out of it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't much excitement anyway. I would have liked to see Lash and Fallon in maybe another time before it ended, as opposed to so much a Pretty Deadly double team. Not even really exciting double teams. So anyway, security comes up and they break up this big fight with Gallus, and we just kind of quickly move on. So kind of a rush segment. Remember, they didn't even get entrances. They didn't get much after the match. The match was almost a little too long. They could have shortened the match and had entrances, in my opinion, and maybe not just moved away, doing a little bit more talk about, oh, Gallus. Yeah, then they could have explained who Gallus is. For there are some people who might not have tuned in the last 2 weeks, and who the heck are all these NXT UK people? And now they're trying to process like 8 or 9 or even 10 new people all on the same show, especially when like Joe and Mark. I'm sure Joe and Mark Coffey, nobody knows who the heck who's who. Like, I know who's who because I watched NXT UK, but if you didn't, you're gonna just not know who the heck any of these Gallus guys are, especially because 2 of them are looking similar because they're brothers. So anyway, we're in the back now, and Mandy Rose is on the phone. Mandy says, "Where are you guys? I gotta go." So anyway, Mandy must have been talking to, who knows where JC and Gigi went. Maybe that's something we'll follow up on at a point. But the reason that Mandy said I got to go is because Shayna Baszler has walked in. Shayna says, "I'll be surprised if you make it past Worlds Collide. And Liv knows that I'll take her apart and win the SmackDown title. And you used to call yourself the baddest. But when I held that NXT title, it was never a debate. You better unify those titles for this brand. And if you don't, everything you said in the last year is garbage." So then Shayna Baszler leaves, and I'm absolutely loving all these former champions from their respective divisions showing up tonight to pump up whoever the respective title holder of that division they're a legend of. So this is awesome. This is a running theme, and it happens like 8 or 9 times throughout the different NXT and NXT UK versions of each division. What a freaking great idea. That just made this episode one of those great episodes that you'll remember this one because it felt really special. So at the end of the day, I like all of this stuff that they're doing right here for sure, and I'm really excited for Worlds Collide. So now Andre Chase, he comes out for a match, and he's accompanied by his Chase U students, Bodie Hayward and Thea Hale. And now we see Charlie Dempsey warming up, kind of just like the Iron Sheik used to do with his things, like with that thing he twirled around. So anyway, after the commercial break, he will be making his NXT 2.0 debut. And if you've never seen a Charlie Dempsey match, you are in for a treat. He's basically like a young William Regal. And the fact that Andre Chase is his opponent, who's a veteran, as opposed to maybe it could have been Bodie Hayward, who's a rookie, means that this match could potentially be match of the night. So I'm excited for that. Last week, Charlie Dempsey visited the Chase U gym and was a little too rough with everyone, including Bodie Hayward, which made Andre Chase mad and kick him out. And Charlie Dempsey said that you guys have too soft of a class. So then they left. When we come back from the break now, JD McDonough is being interviewed, and JD says, well, everyone seems to have an opinion about my ways. Take Wes Lee, for example. He called me creepy. Can you imagine that? Well, that plebeian wouldn't know. And then JD says a bunch of words that really don't have any meaning. He's just trying to act creepy. But after that, JD McDonough says that I'd rather be creepy than emotionally fragile like Wes Lee. So then that segment ends. That was strange, but whenever JD McDonough and Wes Lee have a match, that should be a pretty good match. And I wonder maybe that'll be a match maybe on Worlds Collide. They didn't announce it or anything. And maybe there's a pre-show match or something. But JD McDonough was a longtime part of NXT UK, so that would make sense if it happens. But I understand we can't get everyone on the show. It's probably not going to be 2.5 hours at the maximum, so maybe even a 2-hour show. Anyway, now Charlie Dempsey's making his entrance, and we see what happened last week that I just told you about. Charlie then starts this match strong with a headlock takeover right away, and we are in for a technical class here. Get ready. These are my favorite kind of matches. So like I said, Charlie Dempsey gets a headlock takeover right away on Andre Chase. Then Charlie applies a head scissors. Andre stands on his head and reverses it into his own head scissors. Dempsey then rolls on his back and bridges out of it. Andre counters the next hold with a pin. Then they reset. Andre looks for a takedown, but Charlie's able to avoid all the leg picks here. They tie up with a Greco-Roman knuckle lock here, and they both end up still in the knuckle lock, bridging on the mat. That was really cool. So they get back up, still there, but Dempsey gets a takedown. And then Charlie kicks him right away and hits a hip toss, and this is the kind of wrestling I love right here. Andre gets wrist control now, and he works on the arm and shoulder. Charlie's able to get out, hitting a big back elbow. Then a striking exchange breaks out, but Charlie's strikes are much more powerful, and he knocks Andre down. Charlie Dempsey now hits a beautiful Northern Light suplex for a 2 count. That was awesome. So Charlie's now looking for a hold right after the pinfall. Andre blocks it, but Charlie grinds his elbow and is able to get a double underhook applied. So Charlie then dances 360 around Andre's body while holding this hold, and Andre able to get out, hits a striking combo and a Manhattan drop, followed by a Russian leg sweep. So Andre then hits the Chase U stomps, and he's all fired up, but Charlie counters a pin attempt into a key lock on the arm. Charlie transitions this into an STF and looking for a Regal stretch now, but Andre basically gets to the ropes, and maybe Bodie helped him. I didn't rewind the look, but whatever happened, Bodie was close here. I think he was just cheering Andre on, but whatever happened, Charlie gets so mad. He gets out of the ring. He hits a gut red suplex on Bodie. He rolls back in the ring and gets rolled up by Andre for the 1-2-3. So the winner of this match by pinfall, Andre Chase. So I definitely did not see that coming, but what a match, which was a little bit longer and had a good ending. But I'm definitely ready for more Charlie Dempsey matches. That's what I was talking about earlier. You can have all these characters and stuff, but please have a match like this on each 2-hour show. Show me that it's still at the end of the day a wrestling show. Please, I'm begging you. And this was awesome. So great addition to NXT 2.0 is Charlie Dempsey. You saw the Regal influences with the Regal stretch and him grinding his elbow to get a hold on. That's the kind of stuff I love. So great stuff. I don't even care that Charlie lost his opening match. You could say that's bad, but I'm sure he impressed people with his wrestling, and now he has a good story. I'm sure he's going to beat the crap out of Bodie Hayward in their next match. So Andre, maybe we'll avoid the 50-50 booking, and he'll just beat Bodie big time, and then just Charlie Dempsey will move on to someone else. So anyway, in the back, Meiko Satomura has just arrived, and she's approached by Alba Fire, a.k.a. Kaylee Ray. So here we go. Like I said, each champion is being approached by a former legend of their division, a former legendary of that same championship. So this time, it's Meiko Satomura, the UK champion, and approached by the former UK champion, Kaylee Ray, Alba Fire. So Alba says that title looks good on you. Meiko says, I won this from a great champion. Alba says, win it on Sunday. And Meiko says that I will. So that was the shortest one, but it was still a good to see. Meiko beat Kaylee Ray for that title, and I love this running story throughout all of the show. This NXT has become really good, and I've become really excited for Worlds Collide because of all these former champions arriving tonight. So Zoe Starks now makes her entrance, and she'll be taking on Kiana James, who just talked a bunch of smack about Zoe failing. So you'll have to imagine Zoe's going to be fired up for this one. And you'd have to imagine what kind of shape Zoe's knee is going to be in after Mandy Rose attacked it right after Zoe came back from a 9-month-long knee injury. So we go to a commercial break before Kiana James comes out. And then when NXT returns, we see the NXT UK champion Tyler Bate in the back. And then Gunther approaches him, formerly known as Walter, when he was in NXT UK, as one of the best champions ever there. So Gunther says, I'm here to remind you that this title has a legacy. I'm the longest reigning champion, and at Worlds Collide, bring the Tyler Bate that fought so hard against me and win that match against Braun Breaker, because European wrestling depends on it. So then Gunther leaves. Great stuff here. And that's one thing I haven't mentioned throughout all these running storylines, is that it really seems like they're acting like, I don't think it'll be true, but they're acting like if Tyler Bate beats Braun Breaker, then forever that title would be known as the NXT UK title. And that's kind of how they're treating it. That's not how it's going to be, but I like the way that they're doing that, where they, like Gunther saying, win it for European wrestling. We don't want the NXT UK title to just disappear and become the NXT title, which it is going to be regardless. But I like the fact that you could say, well, the NXT UK champion's the one that unified it, or you know what I mean. So that's pretty cool how each person for NXT and NXT UK is like treating it like, we need you to be the person to unify it so that it's not a bad look for our brand. So that's some really cool stuff. Now Kiana James comes out for her match. She's already in the ring, actually. She just got the last little bit of her music played. So Kiana James talks trash. Zoe Stark shoves her hard, and this one's gotten personal already. Then Zoe hits a nasty flying forearm to start this out. Zoe blocks a punch and then hits a slingshot senton. So wow, have we seen so many slingshot sentons and Manhattan drops tonight? So many of them, like maybe 4 each. So anyway, Zoe misses a baseball slide. This allows Kiana James to take control back in the ring. Kiana hits some strikes and applies a key lock on the arm. Zoe's able to strike out, but then evades a charging Kiana with a roll-up. Then Kiana takes Zoe right back down, hitting the arm on the arm, and applies the key lock again. Interesting strategy here. Instead of going after the knee, Kiana James is targeting the arm instead. She must have some kind of plan. She's all about analytics and stuff like that. So she must have something in mind. Zoe's able to get out of this. She hits a big flurry of strikes that ends with a slingshot or a sliding drop kick, or like a one-legged drop kick for a 2 count. Kiana then gets another takedown and hits a standing moonsault for a 2 count of her own. So back and forth here. Zoe then hits a thrust kick and yells right in Kiana's face before hitting her flipping GTS knee strike for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Zoe Starks. So wow, Zoe did not take kindly to what Kiana James said earlier. This was a pretty good match, but of course rushed and too short. What are you going to do? Some things will just never change. Like I said earlier, Kiana James is going to be a solid member of the roster if they give her time to develop. Meanwhile, Zoe Starks has definitely been on fire since her return, and she looks like she could be ready for a main roster call-up at any point. It looked like they were going to give her a shot on SmackDown, and for whatever reason, we'll never know the true reason, but I don't even want to speculate, but that didn't happen, and now maybe she'll get a second chance soon. But anyway, Kiana James, who's been carrying out this black bag, it's loaded with some kind of something inside. She's about to hit Zoe Starks with it, but Nikita Lyons comes out and she sends Kiana James away. So that makes sense for 2 reasons. One is because Zoe Starks has kind of formed an alliance with Nikita Lyons, and 2, Nikita Lyons was the last person Kiana James feuded with, where Kiana was talking all kinds of crap during a PowerPoint presentation, which that part wasn't good, but the trash talk was. So that was a decent segment, rushed as usual, but what are you going to do? So now we're in the back, and one of the members of the triple threat match for the NXT/NXT UK unification match, triple threat match, I should say, is Blair Davenport, the only person in the unification match that doesn't have a title. So she did win a #1 contendership on NXT UK before it folded and was gone. So Blair Davenport says NXT UK and NXT were built off of the women's division, and no one has done what I'll do this Sunday, and the Davenport name will be held where it's supposed to be when I unify the titles. Then Rhea Ripley walks up, who held both of these titles. Rhea Ripley says, I'm a history maker. I grab both brands by the balls and refuse to let go. But you do have the chance to unify the titles this Sunday. You look confident, but don't screw it up. And then Rhea Ripley leaves. Wow, that was perfect. And this episode of NXT has been great. Not just really amazing wrestling here, but not even really great character work. But the way that it just gets you so excited for the pay per view this Sunday is awesome. I can't wait for Worlds Collide. So now Gallus make their way down to the ring for the 6-man tag match against Diamond Mine, and we go to a commercial break before they come out. So I'm sure we'll also see Roderick Strong at some point, as well as the other two teams. To set up that 4-way unification match that I figured we'll be having. So I was actually thinking maybe since we haven't seen a tag team representative from the past, maybe it'll be DIY. I would totally freak out if that happens. So anyway, when we come back from the break, pretty funny segment here where Nathan Frazier and Axiom are reading comic books. Nathan Frazier is acting as if Axiom didn't get to experience the good times in NXT UK. Axiom says, well, maybe since I didn't get to experience it, we could have a friendly match at Worlds Collide. Nathan then talks about the Heritage Cup, and then Axiom says, well, how about a 2 out of 3 falls match? And they shake hands. So the joke here being that Axiom is a kid who was in NXT UK and a former holder of the Heritage Cup. So Nathan Frazier clearly doesn't know that Axiom is a kid, and that was a funny segment. That should be a good match, really, really good match actually. So that could potentially steal the show, even though it doesn't really have any stakes on it. And it's also was nice to get for the Heritage Cup to get a shout out here as well. Let me get a quick drink before we talk about this next match. But Diamond Mine have now made their entrance, and it will be Julius Creed, Brutus Creed, and Damon Kemp. All right, so Julius Creed is going to start the match off with Mark Coffey from Gallus. And Julius hits a nice suplex and tags in his brother Brutus right away, who hits a suplex as well. Brutus applies an armbar, but Mark gets out of this with hitting a nice uppercut. Mark tags in his brother Joe, and Brutus hits a nice knee strike and a gut wrench suplex. Damon Kemp now tags in and applies a waist lock, but Joe reverses it. Kemp gets out and then hits a fallaway slam. Wolfgang now tags in, and here we go. Wolfgang and Damon Kemp shared a pint on NXT UK a few months ago when Kemp was visiting. So Damon Kemp flips out of an armbar, or flips out of a arm drag, I think, and then hits 2 German suplexes in a row. Then Brutus tags in. He applies a headlock onto the big man, Wolfgang, who's by far the biggest man in this match. Brutus then hits a shoulder tackle, but it has no effect. Wolfgang then hip tosses Brutus, but he flips and lands on his feet, which looked great for the Brutus is a pretty big guy himself. This causes all 4 other men to run in. Diamond Mine then take down Gallus all at the same time and hit punches at the same time. That looked great, especially with all 3 teams being color coordinated. It's not often in WWE that we get a 6-man tag match against real 3-person teams. Not very often does that happen. So Diamond Mine keep control as we go to a picture-in-picture ad break now, and they keep quick tags to isolate Mark Coffey in their corner. Mark then counters and fights out of the corner to tag in his brother Joe. Joe then hits a snapmare on Brutus and applies a cravat. Brutus then gets out and tags in Julius as we come back from the break. Julius hits a deadlift Northern Lights suplex, but Joe counters the next attack into a pin. Julius then gets out and deadlifts them both off the mat. That looked cool. Awesome stuff here, slamming Joe Coffey down hard. Wolfgang and Mark now pull Joe out of the ring, and Julius goes out, and Mark allows Joe to take control when Julius goes back in the ring, tripping him. So Joe then applies a straitjacket hold on Julius. Wolfgang now tags in, and Gallus hit a double team, with Wolfgang ending it with a sliding crossbody that crushes him. Then Wolfgang applies a chin lock, but Julius fights out. Mark now tags in, but so does Damon Kemp. Kemp hits a flurry of punches here and a back elbow. Kemp then hits an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Joe Coffey runs in, but Kemp takes him out right away. And now Roderick Strong is out here. He's got a phone in his hand, and he wants to show everyone. He's like, everyone, you got to see this. And Kemp then throws the phone away, and that makes Roderick Strong mad. Meanwhile, in the ring, Joe Coffey hits a huge lariat on Kemp, getting the 1-2-3. The winners of this match by pinfall, Gallus. So, wow. Roderick Strong now has to be held back for by security for some reason. Hello, Roderick Strong works here. He's not some guy, like random guy. What the heck? But anyway, of course, Pretty Deadly and Briggs and Jensen now run out, and a huge brawl breaks out. We knew this was happen because we haven't announced the tag title unification match yet. A ton of security now run out, and then the entire locker room empties. So there's about 50 to 60 people in and around the ring. What a scene. So we go from this great scene here. The Braun Breaker is just laughing and loving life watching this brawl on TV in the locker room. Then Ciampa walks up. Tommaso Ciampa, the legend of NXT. Ciampa says, I've done some things. I've done a lot of things in my time in NXT, but nothing has been more important to me than the time I spent with Goldie. May I? And then he holds Goldie and said, there's a responsibility holding this title. This title and the NXT brand mean the world to me, but it's your world now. The pressure you feel, it's normal. And then this Sunday when the bell rings, embrace it and represent this brand for yours and our legacy. More than anything, Braun, just win. And then Tommaso Ciampa leaves. That was great. And the show's not over yet. There's about 15 minutes left. But before I move on, wow, just this whole running theme of the legends from each division coming in was such a great idea. And I'm really excited for Clash of the Castle now. So like I said, 15 minutes left. And now we hear Carmelo Hayes in the back. Don't forget, he talked earlier about not having a match. So Carmelo says in the back that there's a big problem with Worlds Collide, and that's because I'm not in it. Well, I'm here to address that. And then we go to the last commercial break of the night. So they waited for the main event segment to let us know what Carmelo Hayes' opponent would be. My first thought is, well, is Ilya Dragunov going to be healed from his injury? But no, that's not it. He's still out with a broken ankle, I think it was. So I'm super excited to find out. Carmelo was with Trick Williams as well, and they looked decked out in whatever outfits they were wearing. So before we get to that, when we come back from the ad break, a video plays and it's showing Quincy Elliott, who's been doing really good work on NXT Level Up. And he says, hi, I'm Quincy Elliott. Growing up, everyone always thought they knew who I was, but they don't know me at all. I'm flyer than a reindeer in winter, and I debut next week, the super diva Quincy Elliott. And then the video ends. He's got a flamboyant style character. I don't know if that's his real lisp that he uses. I think it might be a little exaggerated, but it is what it is. I think he's a bi man himself, so it's not like he's playing a character. And we'll see how it goes. It's he's gotten really big responses and cheers from the crowd. So when he does make his debut next week, that crowd's going to go wild. And for anybody on national TV that's never seen him before, and by the way, he's about 350 pounds. So they're going to see this big flamboyant 350 pounder that's getting a huge cheers from the crowd, and people are instantly going to take notice. So I think that'll work out. Anyway, they tell us it's official for the four-way match for the unified tag team titles. Gallus, Creed Brothers, Pretty Deadly, and Briggs and Jensen. That should be an amazing match. So now Carmelo Hayes comes out with about 7 minutes left in the show. Carmelo's mad. Trick Williams gets on the microphone and says, every week Carmelo comes out here putting on banger after banger, but for some reason he's not on Worlds Collide. Usually we're laughing and telling jokes out here, but not tonight. Carmelo Hayes then says, how are you going to keep the A champion off of this card? I'm talking all this talk about unifying championships. Well, I already did that last year. I'm the greatest North American champion of all time. So I'm going to be taking my ball, putting it back in my court, and I won't be taking my talents to World Collide. There's nobody on my level. In fact, there's nobody on the level right below me. And then the lights go off. Who's it going to be? It will be Ricochet. Ricochet comes out. Wow, talk about a great match. Ricochet and Carmelo Hayes, sign me up for that one. That could be a match that steals the show, and it could be a match that puts Ricochet's career back on track. So Carmelo Hayes says, I don't know if he even knows how to use a microphone. Getting a shot here because Ricochet is not known for his talking abilities. He's just one of the best in-ring high flyers of all time. So Ricochet says, it feels good to be back, but please, for the sake of everyone, shut up for 5 seconds. And yes, it was a bad promo from Ricochet, but it is what it is. Ricochet then says, I don't see why Worlds Collide only has to be NXT and NXT UK. Let's have some SmackDown Blue brand on there as well. Carmelo, you're good, but you can't do it like I do it. Carmelo Hayes says, well, you might be the one and only, but you're just one of many to step up and get stepped on. Ricochet says, congrats on your success, but it's not amazing because nobody remembers your title defenses, which I don't know if that's true or not. That's a weird thing to say. Does anybody remember Ricochet's Intercontinental title defenses? Like, whatever. Like, either you're someone that's a nerd that remembers all these things, or you're not. It doesn't mean it was good or not. And we all know that Carmelo Hayes has had a good title defense. So terrible like line for Ricochet to say. But anyway, Ricochet continues saying, "I thought I'd come back to NXT and give the people something to remember. I've held that North American title before, and I plan on winning it again." So Trick Williams has heard enough. He tries to attack Ricochet, but Ricochet counters, taking him out and taking Carmelo out as well. So Ricochet holds up the title, gets in Carmelo's face before handing the title back over, and the crowd goes absolutely wild as NXT 2.0 ends. So that has a potential to steal the show. Don't forget, we've got Axiom and Nathan Frazier, potentially a show stealer as well. Then all the unification matches. What a card it is going to be. And I know a couple people are definitely going to be upset that it wasn't Johnny Gargano that came out. Probably one of the greatest other North American champions. But think about it. Triple H wants Gargano's return to be on the main roster. Plus, Ricochet needs this match a little bit more to get his career back on track. Meanwhile, Gargano's still riding high. He's got everybody in the palm of his hand because he just returned. He doesn't necessarily need a banger match to get his on track. Where I think if Ricochet has like a career-making match here, he can get right back on track. Great stuff there. So what a great episode of NXT 2.0. Nothing like memorable too much about the actual wrestling matches. Nothing too much memorable about the character work, but all the stuff they did to set up how important all these unification title matches are, and it's a celebration, and it's like the funeral of NXT UK, but it's one of those funerals where they tell you, we don't want you to be sad. We want you to have a celebration about my life and have a good time. And that's basically what this is going to be. And it's going to be awesome. And meanwhile, a bunch of the other people the day before are going to be at the 31st NXT, the first UK pay-per-view in 30 years happens the day before this, where everyone else that didn't make it to this Worlds Collide card, like a Gunther / Walter, or I'm sure Butch is going to have a match, and then we know Finn Balor has a match as well. So all those guys are going to be wrestling in the UK at Clash of the Castle just the day before, and they have a lot of them show up tonight and really put over how important they feel about each brand winning the unification matches. Sure, at the end of the day, it really doesn't mean anything, and they're all going to be called, even if Tyler Bate wins the NXT title, it's not going to forever be known as the NXT UK title going forward. It's just a little bit of, oh, when they were unified, we were the ones that unified it kind of deal. So it might not mean anything to a lot of people, and it's just kind of gimmicked up to be gimmicked up, but it made me feel something. It made me feel like it was for something. It made me way more so than like a Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series stuff, or heaven forbid that terrible bragging rights pay-per-view. So I'm really excited for this. I'm really looking forward to it. We can quickly go over what the title matches are and who we think are going to win. So, of course, the main event should probably, probably should be the women's match, but it'll probably be Braun Breaker taking on Tyler Bate, and that's really important match. NXT UK men's title, one of the most beautiful title belts in existence right now. It's sad that it has to go. I wish the I wish Tyler Bate would win, and it would forever be known as the NXT UK title, but that's not going to happen. It has so many great champions, Walter and Ilya Dragunov, along with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate himself. So just really going to be an important match there. Who wins? Probably Braun Breaker. I mean, I'm sure he will, but it would be a better story if Tyler Bate won for sure to close out the Worlds Collide show with the NXT UK champion unifying the title belts. I think that would be better for Braun Breaker's kind of already a made man. Whenever he gets called up to the roster, he's already going to have the whole they might even rename him, he might be Braun Steiner when he gets called up to Raw or SmackDown. And then they could play a highlight video of the Steiner brothers and then transition it into highlights from Braun at NXT. And he'll already be a made man. He's a big guy anyway, even without the Steiner name. Meanwhile, someone like a Tyler Bate, only 25 years old, even though he's been in NXT UK since he was 19, it just seems like he's going to be older, but he was only 19 at the time. Having him be the first and the last NXT UK champion and unifying it with winning the unification match with NXT probably is the right move. I hope that happens, but it's not like, I mean, I'm too jaded as a wrestling fan. I never get upset over who wins and loses matches anymore, but I would like to see Tyler Bate win that one. For the women's one, that one I might be a little bit more upset. If Mandy Rose pins or submits Mako Satomura, I'm gonna actually be a little upset about that one. If Mandy ends up pinning Blair Davenport or submitting her to win the unify the titles, that's much more better. And I think that's exactly why the triple threat match is in existence, because nobody wants to see Mandy Rose beat the legendary Mako Satomura. So since nobody wants to see that, and it shouldn't happen, I don't think it should happen. So probably Mandy Rose is going to be pinning Blair Davenport. Better story would probably be either of them other ones winning. But I guess the story here, just like Roman Reigns, we've built up like a character that has the title and has had locked down the entire division almost for a year now. Mandy Rose has had the women's division locked down. So whoever does beat her, you got to make sure that's going to be the next big thing. I've been thinking that it should be Ivy Nile eventually, but it looks like Ivy's going to have a side story in the tag division right now. So it might not be Ivy eventually, but I think it should be maybe Tiffany Stratton or Wendy Chu. Wendy Chu's probably the number one contender. We've already seen her have a match with Mandy Rose, but Wendy Chu's character has evolved a lot since then, being more serious now. So Tiffany Stratton's another option, but those are two heels, so that would kind of be weird. Anyway, Blair Davenport winning, I wouldn't mind. Blair Davenport's good. Mako Satomura, I would love for her to win and stay in America. However, I think she's probably going to go back to Japan. I think she has a promotion there that she runs. She's just been having someone else run it while she's been in the UK and stuff like that. So I don't know if she's going to stay. Would love for her to be on the main roster for a year or so before she goes back to Japan and does whatever she does for the rest of her career. Anyway, Blair Davenport's going to be around longer regardless. So that potentially could be someone you want to unify the titles. I liked her little segment with Rhea Ripley earlier. So if Blair Davenport can be kind of anywhere near as good as big of a star as it looks like Rhea Ripley is going to be, then maybe this would be a good idea for Blair to win this match. We'll just have to wait and see. The tag title ones, that's for sure a crapshoot. There's no telling who the heck's going to win that one. You've got Gallus. We don't even know if it's going to be the Coffey brothers or if it's going to be Wolfgang and one of the Coffey brothers. So they could win it, but I doubt it. We don't even know who's going to be in the match. You got the Creed brothers. They look like the next best thing in tag team wrestling. Do they need it? Probably not. Would it be good to have under their belt and say forever that they're the ones that unified it? That makes sense. That would be cool. Your other options, Pretty Deadly. I think they would probably be the best choice. I think Pretty Deadly for sure is the best choice. They've held both the NXT and the NXT UK titles, and to have them unify it, solidifying themselves. They do need to improve, in my opinion, in the ring a little bit more, but their character work, their promos, and the whole they match each other perfectly, and they have a good look, and their whole gimmick is good. I think Pretty Deadly should win that match. That would be my idea. The other ones in that match are Briggs and Jensen. They were surprise winners of the tag titles to begin with when they just happened to be over in NXT UK. Ashton Carter and Oliver Smith just won the titles, and Ashton Carter got injured right after in the match they won the titles. So they had just happened to be vacated. It was never supposed to be Briggs and Jensen. They have improved since winning the titles, but I don't think it's time for them. They seem like a team. I don't know if they're going to be together for like 3-4 years. You like Pretty Deadly, they're going to be together for like the next 5 years. Like it would be idiotic to take them apart any sooner than that. So I could see Pretty Deadly or the Creeds. The Creeds are going to be together for a while as well. It would be stupid to break them up in the next 5 years. So either one of those teams would be good. And then the other one isn't really a unification match, is it? It's just we got a bunch of other title matches. I'm really looking forward to the women's title match with NXT UK being represented by Doudrop and Nikki ASH, who were Nikki Cross and Piper Nevin in NXT UK. They were there from the beginning alongside Kaylee Ray, aka Alba Fire, who doesn't have a match. Alba Fire's not scheduled for a match, so that's a little disappointing. Hopefully there can be maybe another women's match added, Alba Fire against anybody, really. Anybody that's good. So that'll be unfortunate if Alba Fire doesn't get a match there, but I guess everybody can't get a match, right? Anyway, I doubt Doudrop and Nikki ASH are going to win the titles, but it would be cool for their characters if they went back to NXT, and then that's where Nikki ASH finally turned her career around. But you would kind of want more people to see that, and by having Nikki ASH get rid of the superhero gimmick on Raw, that's more preferable. So probably no title change there, but it should be a good match, and it's most importantly, it's important that Doudrop and Nikki ASH got to be a part of this. celebration slash funeral of NXT UK. So that's really cool. Meanwhile, Ricochet, that doesn't make as much sense, but it's not really for anything UK. It's just straight up um someone from the past for a North American title. I've already kind of said that I love that match for the fact that it might be a career resurgent match for Ricochet to get back on track, show everybody what he can do, and that's have really, really, really good matches. If you watch Lucha Underground, you know this guy's insane. Or if you're a PWG fan, you know the things that Ricochet can do. So we're going to see some of that, and this is going to be a good match for Carmelo Hayes to really show people that he's good. The other one isn't a title match, but it's involved for it's in honor of the Heritage Cup, and that'll be Axiom, aka A-Kid, taking on Nathan Frazier, and that's going to be potentially match of the night. It'll be 2 out of 3 falls, so it's not round style, which is the Heritage Cup rules, but it is 2 out of 3 falls, which is also Heritage Cup rules. So I'm glad that the Heritage Cup got represented. That was one of the important things about NXT UK that really stood them apart from the other brand, and that is having that they didn't have the Intercontinental title or the North American title where it was just a different but same title. They had their main title, and then they had this one that is the champion of the round style, which really good stuff. And it's sad to see that title or the trophy go. It wasn't even a title, it was a trophy that you carried around. So glad that they got to do that. The current champion, I think, is still signed, and that's Noam Dar, who a lot of people still remember. He was on Raw. He was like had Alicia Fox as his girlfriend, if you remember. He was part of the cruiserweight division when they were putting the purple ropes on during Raw. Remember that? So Noam Dar has been around for a long time, and I think he's still signed. So that might be someone we might see at Worlds Collide. Trying to think, there might be someone else that I'm forgetting that's still signed from NXT UK that didn't get released. I think like Oliver Carter might be another one. So you might see some people like that show up, or maybe they'll just wait. But before I get going, I started this review out by saying this could potentially be a big time episode and potentially the final ever episode of NXT 2.0. I've heard it. I think it was Wrestle Culture, and I definitely agree. I was already kind of thinking the same thing. And I think they were just talking about something on Reddit where somebody was theorizing that we might start Worlds Collide this Sunday with Triple H's voice, basically saying we are NXT. Then the lights turn on and everything is black and gold. Think about it. It's the perfect time. Triple H is just in charge, and he didn't just do it randomly on an episode of 2.0. He could do it here at a special event. So I can't this isn't me thinking it. I'm just reporting it in case you didn't think of it or hear about it yourself. But it might be when we turn on Worlds Collide, we are NXT from Triple H. Lights turn on, black and gold everywhere. And like I said, I can't take credit for this idea. This is what people online are talking about. But if you think about it, it's the perfect time. Like basically think about the last 2 weeks of NXT 2.0. It's been this giant transition period where we've introduced all these NXT UK people, and a lot of people and a lot of the characters, like we didn't even see Tony D'Angelo tonight. No mention of Tiffany Stratton or Wendy Chu. Like so many of these other people were kind of left behind while we're promoting this NXT UK show. And like I said, this was one of my favorite episodes of NXT ever, with all the different legends from each division, NXT and NXT UK, coming to show up, and you never knew who was going to show up next. So but it could also be a perfect transition to go back to black and gold for next week. So you start off Worlds Collide. We are NXT. Hear from Triple H on screen for the first time since he's taken Vince's job. And then that would be an amazing moment for this big end of NXT UK celebration slash funeral combined match with NXT, with Triple H's, I think, basically could be the last live event for NXT that's not a takeover. Takeovers could be back. We might turn on the lights, everything's black and gold, and then next week on Tuesday we tune in and it's no longer 2.0. It's just NXT black and gold. So and that might just not mean too much as far as things changing. That's not just automatically going to be like, okay, now they're going to sign like 20 people from the independents, like a Blake Christian and Bronson Reed is going to come back. I don't think it means that, but it'll just be a sign to people that like Triple H is in charge, and I'm getting rid of the stupid 2.0 stuff. like I explained at the beginning of the video how I do like some aspects of 2.0. I love the world they've built where you've got the Diamond Mine gym, you've got the bar that Fallon Henley owns, you've got the spa that Tiffany Stratton and Toxic Attraction go to, you've got Andre Chase University. All of this is in this little world that they've crafted in NXT 2.0, and I would hate for it to all go away because that's kind of the thing that sets apart NXT 2.0 from every other show. And in sense, the fact that they're always going to be the minor leagues of WWE, they're always going to be where we send all our developmental people. The fact that it could still be some of that character driven stuff that we've come to like on NXT 2.0, like the Tony D'Angelo stuff and Tiffany Stratton and whatnot, but also mix it with like Nathan Frazier has a crazy match with blah 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 for 15 minutes, also included on your 2-hour NXT, where you have your characters and stuff like that. So if it can be a nice mix between the two, that would be perfect. So really looking forward to Worlds Collide. I'm pretty sure I'll be here live. I'm going to try and get Worlds Collide covered and then cover All Out after that. So we'll see what the time is like, but I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll probably be coming on live right after Worlds Collide, but I'll be talking about NXT twice before that, as I'll cover the last ever episode of NXT UK this Thursday, where we already know the winners of both matches, but it'll be in the #1 contendership for the NXT UK title, where Blair Davenport, that's where she won and got into this triple threat. And then Tyler Bate will be taking on, even though we know that Tyler Bate won the title, he takes on his former Mustache Mountain partner, Trent Seven, who has now been released. So big match there. I'll be covering that on Thursday. Then on Friday, we'll cover NXT Level Up. All those guys on Level Up who just thought they were maybe going to get those spots from everybody getting called up to the main roster, like Legado del Fantasma. And I'm sure there's going to be others, maybe Toxic Attraction soon. So anyway, they thought spots were going to open up for them to jump up from Level Up to regular NXT. But now all of the NXT UK people have come in. So Level Up is pretty important as well now, as everyone's jockeying to keep their jobs and keep their spots and move up to NXT national television shows. So I'll be covering that on Friday as well. And then Saturday, of course, I'll be covering right after it goes off the air, Clash at the Castle, first ever in 30 years in the UK pay-per-view. And then, of course, Worlds Collide on Sunday. So we'll be talking a lot about this. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys again soon, and enjoy your time. Peace.